All right, LLMs. Are LLMs taking our jobs as devs? Halleck is gonna help us answer this question. I have thoughts on this. I'll save them for the end. Here's some zaps, Halleck. Halleck is, I think, week 3 in a row here of posting a custom, interesting post here. So thanks for doing that. All right, devs, LLMs are not about to take your jobs from Halleck. Okay, we got some screenshots here. How many R's is there in the word strawberry? There are 2 R's in the word strawberry. That is not correct. Where are they? The R's in the word strawberry are located in the 5th and 8th position. STRAWBERRY. The 5th and the 8th position. Slightly wrong, okay. This is an easy example though. People throw in these examples. You can trick the LLMs with stuff like this, but this does make you wonder about certain other things. Okay, the work that we do as developers typically includes a need for precision. The LLM's lack of intelligence can be well hidden in an essay it may write, which contains some facts, some claims, and plenty of filler language. Okay, actually jumping back to this first sentence, the work that we do as developers typically includes a need for precision. This is very true. Being detail-oriented is important. I remember when I was in my coding boot camp, I was doing practice interviews with like my team lead, like practice developer interviews, and he was asking me the classic question, like, what are your weaknesses? Tell me what your weaknesses are. And I don't remember everything I said, but I was like, yeah, I'm not super detail oriented. And he was like, stop, hold on, Austin. He's like, don't ever say in a programming interview that you're not detail oriented. That's a terrible idea. And I was like, oh, okay, my bad. But it is true. It is true. You need to be completely and totally detail oriented for a lot of tasks, for important tasks. And those details are not just dotting I's and crossing T's. They're important details that can make or break everything. Okay. Which contains some facts, some claims, and plenty of filler language. Okay. However, when boiled down to a logic problem delivered with human language, the statistical model that an LLM is quickly breaks down. We're not looking for an answer. We're looking for the answer. Yeah, this is something that's important that LLMs are really bad at. If you happen to deliver your prompt the right way, you can stumble upon correctness. I think I see more R's than you do. I apologize, the errors in my previous response, blah, blah, blah. R's are in the 3rd, 8th, and 9th position. That's correct. But if you prompt it a different way, it'll be confidently wrong. There are actually 3 R's in strawberry. Can you find them? I apologize for any confusion earlier. The word strawberry contains only 2 R's. You idiot. Located in the 3rd and 8th position. Here's the breakdown. Completely wrong. This is like Chad GPT right here. He's like, 2 + 2 = 5. You're wrong. Here's the proof that proves me wrong, and then I'm gonna therefore state that you are wrong. Baller. Okay, so is this intelligence? Can it gather user requirements better than you? No, there is not thought behind this. It depends on you to stop asking questions when you get the right answer. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna say a few things and then we'll dive into the comments. Looks like there's quite a few comments here. So some of this stuff, there's low-hanging fruit as far as examples that you can pull from to make your LLM look dumb, to make any LLM look dumb. It's really easy to do. And a lot of these problems of it missing a detail or hallucinating something, you can, if you know how to prompt and you're familiar with using LLMs, you can deal with this. You can figure this out. I mean, I use LLMs all the time for very complicated coding problems. And I know what I want it to consider an output, and I know what I want to use from its output. And at the same time, I know what not to trust. And I know what to be skeptical about, what to read over 3 or 4 times etc. And I know how to prompt it. You know, I might have ChatGPT generate some code, but I might give it a second prompt on every generation to say, what's wrong with this? You know, improve this, sharpen it, polish it, make it cleaner, etc. And so, and the tool is still there, and it will follow it will attempt to follow your chain of logic, and will continue to give you very mid-tier output, but output that nonetheless might save you a ton of time and might be useful and put something right at your fingertips that was not before. And I still think that that's a powerful experience as a programmer, and it continues to speed up my process of developing. And I don't feel that I have, if I'm in a coding session and I'm doing it all on my own, or I'm using an LLM a lot, I don't notice that there's more or less errors that I run into, or serious bugs or things that I'm overlooking. It's about the same, but I'm literally speeding up my process of iteration with using an LLM. So yeah. But nonetheless, like I agree, and it's the new users of these LLMs that are more likely to fall into really bad habits with how they use this. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink and we'll dive into these comments here. A lot of these challenges can be overcome by teaching the LLM to use a separate tool. For example, the LLM doesn't need to know how to play chess, but just needs to know how to use a chess engine. It doesn't need to know how to calculate. It just needs to know how to write a Python script using NumPy, SciPy. Machu Pikachu, that's a good name. I already like this comment. It seems like he's on the same thought trajectory that I'm on. If you take your example and have the LLM respond with Python code that counts the letters and returns the position, it is more likely to get it correct. At some point, the OpenAI team will figure out how to get it to do this behind the scenes. You can actually ask it to analyze a CSV file, and it automatically writes Python code to do it. So this is already close to reality. Yeah, this is true, and this is like the perfect kind of example that's just a great time saver for using something like ChatGPT. Is like, here's a CSV, I need to grab all the properties that, you know, do this, or I need to parse it in this kind of way, write me a Python script to do it. It's amazing at doing that. You can dump in all of that context, whether it be spreadsheets or markdown files or whatever. Images. Eventually, we'll see these systems translate prompts into logic arguments and then use tools like COQ. I don't know what that is. Oh, he has references here. Look at this. Tools like COQ to make provably true statements. They can start leaning on compilers and language servers to error correct as they write code. Along the way, they can write tests to check their work. The bar these LLMs have to clear is just to produce no more bugs than the average software engineer, and that's honestly a fairly low bar. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and he's kind of, it's a similar argument to what I was making, but he's definitely doubling down of like, it's not even necessarily that you need an increase in intelligence in these kinds of examples, is that you need more middleware to pull from, basically more, you know, processes. Like he mentions language servers. He mentions being able to execute code on the side, to use COQ for logic statements. Let's see what COQ is. I don't know what this is. The COQ proof assistant, handling proofs and programs. COQ implements a program specification and mathematical higher level language called Jalina that is based on expressive formal language called the calculus of inductive constructions. Wow. That itself both combines a higher order logic and richly typed functional programming language through a vernacular language of commands. That's really interesting. What does it look like? Let's ask ChatGPT. Give me an overview of COQ language and some examples. Formal language to write mathematical definitions, executable algorithms, and theorems, together with an environment for semi-interactive development of machine-checked proofs. Interesting. Type theory, proof assistant. COQ can be used to write formal specifications and to develop proofs that these specifications are met. Okay, basic examples. Defining natural numbers. COQ allows you to define data types inductively. I don't know what that means. Here's the definition of natural numbers. Inductive nat is a type. 0 nat s nat. I don't know what this is saying. Addition of natural numbers. You can define functions on these types. Here's a definition of addition. This looks like a super functional programming language. Okay, anyway, that looks, I don't know, to me this looks horrible. I would not want to write this, but that's cool, that's interesting. I didn't know there was a language like this. Okay, thank you, Machu Pikachu. No Count says, the example OP used is like saying, look, this sports car can't go upstairs, therefore walking is a superior form of transport. LLMs are not meant to count instances of a character in a string. We have better tools for that. Yeah, that's fair. It's a fair critique. And Null Count says in his own comment, that's why it's called artificial intelligence. It's just predicting the statistical likelihood of the next token based on the corpus of human language and writing. Wow, what a great description of just how LLMs work at all. Jackie Nelson says, hi, what is up? I'm doing good. How are you doing? We're reading through the top dev stories for the week. Reading about how LLMs are really dumb and they're not going to take your jobs, apparently. Great sentence here. Let's read it again. It's just predicting the statistical likelihood of the next token based on the corpus of human language and writing, which is a pretty good tool. If you gave me that like elevator pitch for would you want this tool, I would be like, hell yeah. Autocorrect isn't an author, therefore LLMs aren't developers. But thanks to spell check and autocorrect, human authors don't need to hire as many human editors and proofreaders. Likewise, project managers may not need to hire as many devs to write software that meets their requirements. That's fair. I am a developer as well. Can you hire me for some work? Let's collab and build a team. That's a nice pitch. I cannot hire you for work. I just got a job and my bank account is literally empty. But definitely am always collaborating with the PlebDevs. You can check out plebdevs.com and join our Discord community. And yeah, definitely got a lot of projects going on. And I want to start doing more almost projects from within the PlebDevs community that maybe one of us can start and a few of us can build on together, something open source. But yeah, sadly, I'm nowhere close to any kind of money. All right, Halleck. Halleck is responding to this comment here. Would you therefore argue that spell check ultimately took away editing jobs? No, okay. In a sense, yes, but also spell check and word processing in general made it easier than ever to become an author, which may have increased demand for human editors. That's interesting. 4D chess point. Likewise with LLMs, it's never been easier to be a project manager. So the demand for human devs may still increase even if the number of devs per project decreases. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you can find the server at plebdevs.com. Plebdevs.com, and it's right here. That'd probably be the easiest way. I think this is like a permanent link. It's a good comment from Null Count. Halleck says back, I'm skeptical that LLMs make it easier to be a project manager, but I suppose time will tell. Someone who programmed in raw assembly in 1980s would probably say a Python dev in 2010 is basically writing English and is not a true programmer. Now imagine that Python dev is looking ahead 30 years at someone chatting with an LLM to produce code. Maybe it's the PMs that are going to lose their jobs. Maybe the devs of tomorrow look a lot more like the PMs of today. It's very interesting. Yeah, and this is one of my big thoughts on LLMs in general, or at least LLMs on the topic of replacing devs. It's very possible it can happen. I mean, as what's his name, Machu Picchu is saying, like, you add in all this middleware, you add in all of these other resources and tools into the base tool that the LLM is, and you do that, and like, how far can you get with that? How good of a developer, how good of a programmer could you get by following that string right there? And so it's possible you could get to the point to where you've got AI agents that are as good as junior developers or something like that. I don't think we're anywhere close to that right now, but you know, it's possible it could happen within the next 5 years for sure. And in that world, what does a developer look like? A developer becomes more of a manager, because a lot of the code generation, or a lot of the low level details are being generated. And then what are you doing as the developer? You're doing a lot of code reviewing, you're doing a lot of project management, you're probably writing and refactoring a lot of code. But yeah, I think that is very much the future that a lot of devs are going to be going into. But I don't think it's that bad. Like, it's not, that's almost like going up a level. Instead of the guy that's, you know, you're the guy that's polishing Caesar's or Pharaoh's big toe forever, just like really, really down in the details, stuck in the details. You get to be a little more high level. You get to move faster and really architect something bigger a lot quicker. And that's what I feel right now. Like, I'm working best with an LLM when I do feel like I'm a project manager, when I'm thinking about the high level architecture, and I'm working with LLM. It's helping me lay out this architecture of my app, and then maybe I have to dive into like a detail for some kind of encryption thing or something like that. That's an important detail, but like that's the best flow state that you can be in with an LLM, and that very much seems like the future of where we're going with LLMs and humans. That's a good point there. Which model is this? 3.5, 4, or 4.0? Okay, I finally found it. This is the 4.0 model. I just asked 4.0, then swapped to 3.5, then back to 4.0. 2 R's. 2 R's. Okay. It's kind of dumb that it considers itself as two different models. It would be like you having a conversation with me, then someone swaps my brain in and out. And I would apologize for that other brain making a mistake. Okay, I see. So he's like posting this to the other 4.0 model and saying, why did you get this wrong? That's funny. Okay, a few other big comments here. I still cannot understand the hype in the developer community. I tried GitHub's Copilot 6 months ago and several plugins with integrations to ChatGPT 3.5 and 4 a few months ago. And for me, the experience has been very bad. At most, it's better autocomplete, but not so much better. The only time I've seen it saving time for me was when I was trying to write if this element is not in the data structure, then add it, which anyways would have taken 20 seconds to write. But looking at some people telling how AI is making me 10x more productive, or not using it is like typing with just one hand, I just cannot understand it. Yeah, that's the FOMO. Those are the people trying to get you to FOMO about AI, and this is a lot of my frustration with it too. It's like, it's just total shitcoin FOMO, like, sentiment behind all of it. Last week, I asked one of these 10x faster people what IDE and specific model he was using to try and see if I'm doing something wrong. And he replied to me, okay, if it doesn't work for your specific workflow, then too bad. So no, I don't think our jobs are going to get taken by AIs anytime soon. Okay, I think a lot of these more advanced, maybe this is me in the way that I've worked, but a lot of these more advanced tools and integrations, I don't like them. Like I do use Copilot, and it's actually mainly for this reason of like what you're saying here, like parsing data structure, filtering an element out of a data structure, doing like complicated inline conditions that I could write, but it would take me like 2 or 3 minutes to like go look at the docs and remember how to do my dot filter method or something like that. So Copilot is good for that stuff, but it's amazingly good at generating a lot of boilerplate code. My favorite example of that is like API code or something. Like if I go to like, what's something with an API recently that I did? If I go into PlebDevs here, source, pages, API, yeah, sure, drafts. Yeah, so something like this, like something, I write endpoints like these all the time. Like this is kind of a first iteration endpoint. You know, I've got a get, I've got a get, I've got a put, I've got a delete here. And this is at like a slug endpoint. And, you know, we've got our try catch, we are hitting a DB method and we're expecting something back and we check if it's back. And what's great about this is like I write one handler in one like API file. And then when I go in to write all the other handlers, it's just generating for me and it's 99% correct, right? So this is something that's like saving me a ton of time, but that's basically autocomplete. It's not smart for doing that necessarily. But anyway, that's what I use Copilot for. But besides that, I just like the raw LLM experience. And just really curating my prompt, really curating what context I'm giving it. And I'm just comfortable with that workflow with like, especially with some of the work I've done in the past in my career with AI, I just felt like I kind of got an intuition on how it parses and understands information. And you realize how much power you have as the prompter to craft what kind of output you want, but realizing that you're dealing with, you know, something that doesn't know how many R's are in strawberry at the same time. But good comment from BTC Remnant. Manakis. I'm a dev. What I tell other devs is that AI and LLMs / machine learning aren't going to take our jobs. However, those that don't use these tools will be left in the dust and will make themselves obsolete. Yeah, that's fair. I guess a little bit like my point I was saying earlier of, or really what Noel Count was saying earlier of devs becoming more like PMs eventually. So yeah, somewhat agree. You should use the tools, at least be somewhat familiar with them, but don't feel the FOMO wave. The problem was produced by the client, you. Prompt engineering is not that simple as others would expect, and using ChatGPT doesn't work anyway to use it for coding. What? It's no problem to create full stack apps with one iterative process. Perfect prompt using GPT-4 Omni. Okay, so that's the new GPT-4o model. But this requires hardcore coding skills plus excellent prompt engineering, and expect some billion tokens to be communicated. 1 million input was $5, 1 million output, $15. It takes some hours to go through the whole process. And if you've done well, you will end up with a working full stack app plus test suite and every best practices and even documentation. Otherwise, you will spend days reviewing code which has tons of bugs or doesn't work at all, finally ending up dumping the whole repo. In that case, OpenAI will not refund you for the API usage. That's really interesting. Wait, what is that? Yep. Reply. What process are you using through the ChatGPT API to generate full stack app? Yeah, like I wonder how, I mean, I've used the ChatGPT API, but I've never done something that's literally like a $5 input. I imagine there are instructions and some code examples. But how does this get up to 1 mil tokens? How many instructions do you have to add? Okay, last comment. Oliver Weiss. It's intelligence of its own. Important is that there's a learning curve of these languages is enormously steep. In a year or two, we will be laughing at this. Yeah, probably. Like all of this stuff, it's really easy to see how it won't age well. But at the same time, I think that the AI FOMO wave won't age very well either.